everyone, and welcome to Sunday School. So, this morning we're going to continue our Psalm series and talk about Psalm 6. So, let me read it for us and then we'll dive in. Please, Lord, don't punish me when you're angry. Don't discipline me when you're furious. Have mercy on me, Lord, because I'm frail. Heal me, Lord, because my bones are shaking in terror. My whole body is completely terrified. But you, Lord, how long will this last? Come back to me, Lord. Deliver me. Save me for the sake of your faithful love. No one is going to praise you when they are dead. Who gives you thanks from the grave? I'm worn out from groaning. Every night I drench my bed with tears. I soak my couch all the way through. My vision fails because of my grief. It's weak because of all my distress. Get away from me, all you evildoers, because the Lord has heard me crying. The Lord has listened to my request. The Lord accepts my prayer. All of my enemies will be ashamed and completely terrified. They will be defeated and ashamed instantly. So this, in our Bible that we use for Sunday school, the heading for this psalm is a prayer for recovery from illness. So I read it from a different translation so it would make a little bit more sense. But a prayer for recovery from illness. And so David, this must have been a time when he was ill, when he was sick. He didn't know the outcome. He didn't know what was going to happen. He didn't feel well. It's probably like having the flu, but like not having had a flu shot and you're sick for like 2 weeks. It could have been worse than that. But like if you want to relate it to something that might be closer to what we experience now, is that there are some things that we go through that are really difficult, really sicknesses that are difficult, and things that are just hard for us to deal with in general. And so this psalm is really full of hope that while there is struggle, while there is distress, while there is crying and anguish and not being happy, being sad, that there is hope in God, hope in the one that is always faithful. And so, again, like the psalmist, David is asking for healing from his physical and mental suffering. This is a prayer that calls on the compassion and steadfast love of God, a love that is even stronger than pain, grief, or anger. And then hope comes from when the writer realizes that God has heard his prayers. And so I don't know that if you all have been looking at the news here lately, but there has been a lot going on in our world and in our nation, in our state. There's been a lot of things that have happened. And so if you have not looked at the news, I would encourage you to do that, just so you are aware of what is going on in the world around you. And so you'll notice that there have been riots and looting. There have been innocent killings of people of color. There have been people tear gassed, shot with rubber bullets, shot with real bullets, and all of this fighting for justice for people of color in our nation. And so while this might not necessarily directly affect you, that one, realize that this world is full of people that don't look like us. That not everybody is going to look like you, be like you, believe like you, or talk like you, etc., etc. Everyone's different, and everyone is a child of God. So while this might not directly affect you, anything that's going on in the news, think about it from the perspective of God's children are involved in all of these things. And what is being done to treat people fairly, kindly, and with God's love, and what is not. And try to determine in what you are thinking about what's going on, what the best course of action is for moving forward, and how you can continue to be the change. Your all's generation is the generation that can continue to be the change in the world. And so take all this into account. Take into account that while there are people that are hurting, while you are hurting, that God is hearing you. And God is hearing you, God is being there for you, that God is present through all your grief, your anguish, your crying, your tears. and that also that there is comfort in knowing that God is with the people that are suffering right now. And whether that is through what's happening in the world, whether that's someone who is suffering with cancer, whether that is somebody like that, so many things. And so just keep in your mind that there is hope in God. There's hope in God. There's hope in the one that is always faithful for us. And continue to pray, continue to reach out to God, continue to build that relationship. And also take the time really to pray for the world around you, for your family, for your friends, and for those that are experiencing suffering, oppression, and hardship in this time that we are experiencing. But then also continue prayer for the coronavirus. That is still a very real thing that we are dealing with right now, and amongst everything else that's going on in our society. And so keep everyone in your prayer. Keep our nation in your prayers, that we are able to overcome all of these things with the least amount of hurt against our people, against God's people. And continue to raise up all of your concerns to God. Continue to pray. And praying is something that we can always do. It can be any time of any day that we can pray, we can read scripture, we can be in right relationship with God. And so we are still a part right now. That you can take the time, the extra time that you have in your house, in your room, wherever, and pray. Pray to God and seek God's guidance in your life, and ask God to lead and guide and direct everyone around you in our world. And thinking about like what else you could do, the psalmist David wrote songs, wrote prayers, wrote psalms. And what is an outlet that you can use to come into closer relationship with God? So if it isn't prayer or reading scripture, is it going outside, being in nature? Is it playing outside with your friends? Whatever it might be, just being in community with others. Truly try to live that out. We're in the summer months. We are able to gather together a little bit more now that things are opening up a little bit. And so take this time to be with your friends, with your family, and truly be able to build those relationships that you might not have gotten in the last few months. And so talking about that and talking about us in the church, that there's a couple changes that's happening. First of all, we're going to meet on Wednesdays at 3 for Zoom. We will no longer have a Sunday meeting just for high school, so everyone is welcome to come on Wednesdays at 3. The other thing would be that the week of the 21st of June, we will be coming back together as a church, and we as a youth group will be coming back together on the 21st. And so be looking for church-wide emails explaining dates, times, everything like that for worship. But then for youth group, after that email goes out, I will send an email regarding our upcoming schedule. So just be on the lookout for all of that information that's coming to you very soon. And we are always looking forward to gathering back together again. And we can't wait to see you. And I hope you all have an awesome week. And I hope I can see you Wednesday at 3 on Zoom.